Hello and welcome to a science experiment. I've been meaning to do a commentated playthrough for a while. Some folks have asked for a normal playthrough, and admittedly I'm a bit out of practice with Hollow Knight. Starting with Royal Dreamer was not the best idea, so this is just going to be a normal playthrough of Hollow Knight and seeing how well it goes with being able to talk at the same time. So I've put a lot of time into Hollow Knight. I keep coming back to it and finding new things to do, but I have certainly forgotten quite a few things. We're going to see how well I can remember a good chunk of it. Plus, there's that entire thing of being able to play something fresh once again. Although, it's not going to be truly fresh. But ever since I got this back in the summer of 2017, I've greatly enjoyed playing Hollow Knight. There's so many things, like even the intros, that you generally just skip over at this point. Just because you've seen them so many times. So, I don't know how well this is going to go, as I'm not very good at talking and playing games, especially as I've known from streams. It has been a while since I've seen that cutscene. Especially the next one as well. It's also like 3 in the morning here, so this is gonna be interesting. As I said, it's a bit of a science experiment. But I didn't pick Steel Soul because I don't imagine I'm gonna be going for very long with this. It's probably only gonna be about 30 minutes or so, see how far I can get. And this isn't going to be a speedrun of any sort. I'll probably go for trying to go for everything if I keep going with it, but it's not going to be anything particularly special. I'm going to meander, trying to remember where certain things are, because especially with grubs, I don't remember where they are. And I didn't pick Steel Soul precisely because of the entire having to do it in parts. Although I'm pretty sure I wouldn't die playing Steel Soul. I don't want to have the entire thing where it's like, aha, well, you broke it into parts, so maybe you died and you just backed up your save. Which is a fair criticism. But I'd rather try and do a Steel Soul run in one sitting. Like, originally, a commentated run was going to be Steel Soul, but with Hell Mod. Unfortunately, being out of practice, I don't think I can do a Hell Mod playthrough in Steel Soul in one sitting and be successful. I'll probably do the same thing like die in the Trial of Fools, and that'll be several hours spent trying to learn it. So I'd rather play this, warm up, and get used to talking while playing. So with King's Pass, there's not really much special there. You can get this first charm, even though you don't really get a bench until Dirtmouth. And it's not really a beginner-friendly charm. I don't think I've ever actually really used Fury of the Fallen, just because most of the time with the kind of Radiant challenges, you just can't activate it. And if I'm playing, I don't really play around with Stubian at 1 health. However, if you do get used to Fury of the Fallen, it is incredibly powerful. Unfortunately, it's kind of like Grubberfly's Elegy. I'd never really used that charm either, just because it's not really much of a challenge charm. If you're already doing Radiant, having a ranged attack is going to be already too useful. But making it through King's Pass is just a quiet kind of thing. There's all sorts of geoclusters you can get if you want to go off the beaten path as well. But they're not really needed. And of course, finally reaching Dirtmouth. I have to speak to Elderbug, otherwise this run will be cursed. Very cursed. Of course, I kind of miss the Elderbug as a cool dude of the randomizers. And of course, unfortunately, Elder Bug is probably like the Pale King or something. That's why he doesn't like dreams. Unfortunately, I am not very good at tackling lore kind of questions seriously. I think it's just a bad habit, even though I certainly have a lot of respect for people that actually do like to document that and discuss such. It's just unfortunately something that isn't really for me. Although probably I'll be paying attention to story stuff whenever Silksong comes out. So I remember that the real first boss is right over here, since Brooding Mawlek is accessible right from the beginning. Of course, you're generally not supposed to be here, but nothing... Oh goodness, I almost thought I hit the spikes. Nothing stops you from coming this way. Usually I don't go this way because you don't really need the Mask Shard if you're able to beat Brooding Mawlek this early. But there's a certain sort of challenge, I suppose, to it. Of course, watch me die or get hit a bunch of times. As such. Which is why I'm probably not going to be doing a hitless run anytime soon with Hollow Knight itself. I'm trying to remember, it's something like 60 hits, or could be less than that. It actually goes pretty fast if you're even with the old nail. And the more upgrades you get, the easier the fight becomes. Oh goodness. Of course, you can parry the swings as well, but the timing for it's a little bit rough. Whenever he spits, that's the good one, because you can get easy 3 to 4 hits if you're quick getting in. Ah, there we go. But if you're actually trying to heal up during it, your best bet is to use the wall, because the spits usually don't hit you over there. And try to do it after, like, he's done a spit or something of the sort. Or when he leaps and then he's leaping back, that's your time to really heal. Plus, now we can meet Cornifer. Unfortunately, he doesn't hum while you're talking to him. So if you wonder why you don't get free maps, blame Iselda. That's why we can't have nice things. So as well, one of the reasons I did Brooding Mawlek to start is, originally, I've said that I was going to do guides for like a year, and part of the thing that I wanted to try and do is actually do various guides with showing how to get various things at what stage of the game you can get it, and various skips you could use to get there. Like, it's possible to get 5 mask shards before you even leave the Crossroads. Of course, that requires grinding a good bit of geo to buy both of Sly's mask shards. But you can actually get all the grubs, all 5 grubs. You can get this mask shard, which I'm not sure I'll be able to do on my first try. Yeah, because you have to lure that guy over. I forget the exact way you do it. The good thing, though, is that he respawns, so you don't have to use a bench to get back to him. But if I remember right... Oh, this is gonna be bad. Yeah, that he's gonna die. I'm probably going to give it like one more try. But what you can do is you can bounce that guy over. It's a lot easier if you have dash, and if you have the Mantis Claw, you can get right up there. It's usually once you've got the claw, especially if you're doing like Steel Soul and you want to get as many upgrades as possible, your best bet is to then try... Ah, there we go. So you gotta keep him up. No, don't do that. Okay, there. I almost thought that he was gonna be too low. But originally I was wanting to do like a guide that shows how you could get all the various mask shards early, with various skips of the sort. Oh, too slow. And a variety of other things. Too slow again. You can just walk by those, but I'm apparently pretty bad. Very bad, apparently. And I don't know, I'm just not a very organized person, and I am terrible with time management, which is probably why I'm pretty sporadic with uploading at times. Like, sometimes I'll get things together, especially if it's like compilations of things, like ways to die videos and such, that I'll get engrossed in something for a while. Or, like, with some of the modded bosses, that I'll get on the thing of where I just want to beat the challenge and stay focused for a while. But other times, I can't stay focused at all. And I am very, very bad at trying to force myself to do things. So generally you can just skip Gruz Mother right off the bat, and there's not really much reason to do her early. Because, for the most part, you can't really afford much of Sly's stuff early on. But it does mean that you don't have to worry about getting Sly earlier. So the main thing about her is she has one of two attacks. I forget how there was, if I remember right, a limit to the number of times she can do it repetitively. I think it's like 3 dashes towards you, and she can do the little mega bounce in twice. So I think it was with doing, like, I think it was Radiant Gruz Mother, like with the Sanic thing, that I had to keep track of it, because otherwise I would get, it would just be surprising. It's fast to where I don't have very good reaction speed, to where it just takes me by surprise, and then I'm like, oh crap, I just died. And the foreshadowing of the other Nail Masters with Mention and Oro is kind of neat. It's one of those repeat kind of things, because your first time you're not even going to pay attention to the names. But on another playthrough it's like, oh cool, they foreshadow it. So there's a variety of different things. If I really wanted, I could have gotten the various grubs, because out of the 5 in the Crossroads, only 1 requires a pogo skip to get. You have to lure Vengefly over and bounce off it. I think I'll probably get it, or at least try to get it. But, I think it's because going around this way opens up the gate, which then makes it a little easier to go around and get. Like, there's really no need to get 6 masks for the False Knight, and probably not for Hornet 1. Like, even if it's your first playthrough, because doing the skips to get these things is probably going to be harder than doing the actual bosses themselves. But nonetheless... Yep. As much as I love the kind of parrying that it's available, you kind of have to really be focusing to try and do it. Because otherwise, expecting it to happen just by chance usually doesn't work out well, unless it's various bosses to where they have such a big attack that you can easily parry off their slash. That's one of the easier grubs you can get, unless you don't know that you can pogo spikes, in which case you're not going to be getting that one for a while. I think probably Mantis Claw if you don't know about the pogoing. So that's 2 grubs down. There's one over by the acid, which has to skip into Fog Canyon. But I'm not sure if I'm going to actually walk all the way over there. So going over here allows you to, if you go down, you can talk to Myla, who is the true villain behind everything in Hallownest, and is probably the true villain of Silksong. It's like every time he does the entire shockwave, it kind of throws off the rhythm of it. Because you can just hit, run back. I mean, he's certainly bad if it's your first time and you don't realize that he does 2 damage, because it just takes so many hits to kill him. Villain or not, we're gonna visit Myla. Yeah, no voice to be singing either. We leave her to her New Age crystals, which slowly corrupt her. Okay, so if you go left, you can find the black egg and talk to Coral. But there's not much need to actually do that. There is a lot of fun with Coral showing up at various points. So we're at the early game. And there's like a progression that it goes. Yep. Oh, I almost thought I got hit there. Because sometimes I move back in too soon. Like, you can do 2 swings there. So it seems like it's coming back, or at least I remember a lot more than I thought I did. Of course, I will not remember where all the various grubs are, because there's a lot of stuff like Kingdom's Edge that I never quite remember everything. Like, I actually made a list at one point as to where all the relics and rancid eggs were, because with the randomizer, all the particular abilities, you don't want to miss something important. Oh. Got greedy. So the nice thing is, you can just leave the fight if you really want to. It's not really recommended unless you're trying to skip. But it is an option. Of course, if you come back in, you have to do the fight then normally. So there's not too much special about the Falls Knight, but as a first boss, it certainly introduces you to things pretty quickly. It's where things get spicy with Failed Champion. Or at least, the first few times, until I found out that Failed Champion could be cheesed, Failed Champion was pretty much like the hardest of the bosses for me. Well, I mean, out of the 3 dream bosses. Like Soul Tyrant isn't so much difficult as he is annoying and long. It's still a fun fight, but there's a lot of tedious stuff to it. And Lost Kin is probably the most fun of the 3. But Failed Champion, given he's a good bit faster, you have that thing where it's you're trying to watch out for his jumps, but sometimes he just doesn't want to jump. He'll just decide he wants to swing and you dash into him. I haven't actually read this dialogue in ages. And so now we get Vengeful Spirit, which is incredibly useful. Also mandatory, because you're not going to get into Greenpath otherwise. Unless you're playing like Lightbringer. Which is still a really bad idea to try and skip that, as I learned. Lightbringer is much fun, but there's certainly things that make it more difficult early on. So the big thing is just trying to get through here quickly. I remember there's like a geo cluster over here. Oh, I have a lot more geo than I thought. Although, the False Knight's geo chest gives you like 200, so if you actually do kill him, it stacks up pretty quick. Yeah, that's what it was. There were a couple of geo clusters. There's also a Whispering Root above. But you can get some lifeblood. So you need 4 of them. 4 Vengeful Spirits to kill him. And if you get too close, he's going to retreat into his shell. So your best bet is to come in with full soul so you can get your first 3 blasts. And then just kill one guy to get the rest. You can also just lure a Vengefly in, or the two of them above. Yeah, we did it just because we're friends. Not because you can't leave otherwise. So, Soulcatcher isn't really much of an amazing charm, but early on you don't really have too many options, so it gives you an extra 3% soul on hit, and you generate 11% normally, so it's a bit of a noticeable boost, but it's nothing particularly special. Like, the only time you'd really ever use it is if you are using like a full spell build and you just don't have the notches for Soul Eater. And if you pair it with Soul Eater, then every swing is like 22%, so every swing is a spell that you can use. Oh, that's right, I was going to do the one grub over here. Which is to say, I'm not necessarily sure if I'm going to be able to make it with the pogo, because I don't exactly remember. So the thing is, you can't make the jump normally. You're supposed to have dash to be able to make it up there. However, you have a very useful Vengefly over here. Oh. I don't think that's exactly what you're supposed to do. Or maybe it is. So, if you do it right, you can just pogo up there and get that grub. I'm actually surprised I did that the first time. So now if I really wanted, in fact I'm going to get the other grub over here so that I can have all 5 and get the mass shard from the grub father. And then I technically don't need to get the one from the... Oh! Yeah, don't jump in acid. That's probably the best gameplay tip I can give you. Other than Zelda 2's when in doubt, use fire. Now, if you're, like, trying to get into Fog Canyon early and you've got Crystal Heart, that's the way that you would do it to not have to have acid resistance. Otherwise, I don't think I've generally gone that way. Now, if you actually grinded out the Geo, I think it's 150 for the first one and then 500 for the next one. So I could almost technically afford it. But there's not reason to buy both shards at this point. Plus, there's technically one you can get in Greenpath if you're willing to walk in the darkness. And it's not that terrible. It's just not exactly recommended. Unless you're really good at keeping an eye out for things. Oh, I was going to the Grub Father. You're going to have the problem that you're not really going to note. You're going to probably hit the spikes without even realizing. Even with it, I don't remember the spikes too much. So the more grubs you get, the more money, the increasing amount of money for each grub rescued. But at various points, you'll get big rewards that are really handy. For the most part, that's really Mask Shard, 2 Charms, and Pale Ore. You'll get a few relics as well, and a Rancid Egg, but no one really cares too much about those. But the sheer amount of Geo you get is always kind of nice to have. Of course, the funny thing is, I probably should have took the Stagway and opened it up, because now I don't get to use that Stagway. At least not until Greenpath. So your big thing with Sly is you really want that lantern. It'll make your life so much easier to explore a number of things. Unfortunately, it's super expensive, and unless you really, really grind, you're not really going to get it anytime soon. Usually after you've got the Mantis Claw, you're going to have the means to do it, especially if you collected a number of relics and go to the City of Tears to sell them. But otherwise, it's just, you're probably not going to get it unless you go and sell relics. But, oh, made it through. So much like the other one, unfortunately, Soul Catcher still puts it up to 3 hits. Oh. Thought I would land on that one to the left, because I usually forget where that one is dropping forward. So I usually try to take the bottom path because I like to play it safe. There's still so many things that even haven't played this game so much that I just forget small details like that. It's like Fog Canyon that I don't remember where the small Umas are. I don't think the small ones are called small Umas, but whatever they are called. So normally doing the skip to where Hornet is will save you a bit of time, but you'll skip a good chunk of Greenpath. Which pros can do fireball skips, which I can't do. I'm terrible at it. I'd have to practice it a lot more. But you can use that mosquito to get up there by pogoing it as well. And it'll get you through Greenpath a lot quicker. However, I do want to try and explore a bit more, considering this is a meandering playthrough, so I don't have to feel bad about wasting time. So the lovely thing... Plus, Greenpath is probably one of the best zones. Which is the one downside of Greenpath is it's an early zone, so you're not going to come back here much. There are reasons to come back here, but just the aesthetics and the music... Like, I love the Greenpath theme. That and the piano theme, the Dirtmouth, are one of my favorites. Just because they're rather calm, relaxing themes, and it really fits the atmosphere of the zone really well. So, an excuse to stay in Greenpath for a little bit longer is always pretty nice. So by hitting that secret switch, that allows you to get up here early and get that grub. Otherwise, you'd need to have, like, dash or so forth. And I'm not really trying to read the dialogue, because I wouldn't really be doing very well with it. I do admit that the mapping is probably one of the things, especially the first time, was a little bit more difficult to get used to. I'm not sure if the fact that, you know, now I more or less know where I'm going means to where, since I don't need the map, whether or not I'm not really seeing it as much of a problem. But I don't know. It really depends on how used to exploring you are. Like games like this, especially with how big the world of Hollow Knight is, you can meander for quite a bit, going down dead ends and so forth. Of course, you have to pen every entry in the blood of your enemies. The longer the entry, the more things you have to kill to get the blood for the ink. Fortunately, bosses have a lot of blood. This is a fact of Hallownest. You can look it up, but I don't know where, so don't ask. So you can get another grub pretty easy. Usually that guy hits me or I'll go into the acid. At least I remember that being the case. Alright, so this is a possible mask shard that you can get. Normally you'd want the lantern for this. Now, resting at this bench is for safety, because if you get the mask shard, save it quitting to the menu is your best option to get out of the stone sanctuary without any trouble. Otherwise, you have to backtrack the entire way. However, nothing stops you from getting the mask shard early. It's just annoying to navigate in the dark. And I've never actually done I've actually done this one. Okay, so then I go to the left, and then you go to the right, that puts you up there, and then you're gonna have the drop. However, if you jump out that way... Okay. You're right where it would be for no eyes things. Okay, so then there's the spikes there, you jump that. Jump that, then like that. Oh, crap. Okay, normally that's not what you want to do. But that puts me back up there, back up there. Okay, so I made it this time. So now I think that's the pit. Yeah. So what you want to do is you want to jump as soon as you can, so then you get up here, because that has spikes. Actually, wait, I think the spikes are on the top one. But the next one has spikes on both the top part and to the side. So you need to press left as you fall, so that you make it down there. And now, your next pit, jump that, then keep jumping so that you don't hit the spikes. And then you made it through. Easy mask shard. So that means at this point you could technically have 6 mask shards if you really want. Although, again, there's not really a reason to do it. So this one is a safe one to fall. And this puts you back out in No Eye's chamber. Okay, there we go. Now, trying to make it out is the fun part. Okay, so that's right there. Huh, there we go. So, it would put you at the entrance of where you, on the other side, the right side for the mask shard, when you leave, when you make that transition over to get the mask shard. Which is why save quitting prevents you from having to go back through the dark room. That was very rude. So that's how you can get that mask shard early. Of course, you still are going to go back there later on if you're going for full completion to beat No Eyes. But if for whatever reason, like, I suppose if you're playing Steel Soul and you want to try and maximize the number of mask shards and masks that you have, which can be pretty useful if you're wanting to play Steel Soul legitimately, and not just save quit. Then getting power-ups like that early can be very helpful. There's this guy. Of course, I don't really need the Geo. There's a good chunk of things in Greenpath that, once you have Dash, you can get a few more access to a few more things, like the Thorns of Agony charm. You can also get to the charm shop in the Forgotten Crossroads. You can technically get there if you're willing to shade skip, which doesn't help you in Steel Soul, but aw, look at that guy. Just hoping that he can get away. Gotta fill the Hunter's Journal somehow. So if I remember right, when you do this skip, you come out at the top portion of this, so you can not only skip the toll booth, but you're able to get up there a lot quicker. Of course, I'm probably going to end this after Hornet 1, because it is pretty late. Oh, don't do that to get hit by both of them. Which is also a good thing of having an extra mask, I suppose. Although I wouldn't, I'd be at 1 mask otherwise. And once you have the entire effect of 1 mask, you start playing a little more defensively. This guy dies pretty quick if you make 1 attack and then use 3 Vengeful Spirits. You can actually get that free hit as he pops up. I think, if I remember right, I was told that you can just swing at him, and that will cause him to pop up. So I probably have forgotten that. So now we get to have our first optional thing of whether to save Zote or not. Of course, we have to save Zote because he is the true champion of Hallownest. So if you are able to hit it with a Vengeful Spirit, it'll be quick. But every time it dives for you, just pogo and then do a Vengeful Spirit, and it'll die super fast. Of course, we didn't do anything. Zote did all the heavy lifting for Vengefly King. At most, all we did was, it was like loosening the pickle jar, and Zote went in for the kill. So you've got 2 Moss Knights down here. The big reason to go down is that there actually is quite a lot of, not only killing them gives you quite a bit of geo, but it's like a first playthrough. These geo clusters give you quite a bit of geo for doing it. It's like 150, 200 geo for clearing out that entire thing. That's certainly great for a first play. There we go. Usually you want to just kind of hit his shield so that he'll go into that animation, then you can pogo him a good bit. But here you can get your first relic if you destroy this wall. It's actually not a bad idea, even though it's just a Wanderer's Journal for 200 geo that you can sell later. But it's 200 geo that you can afford your lantern with if you collect a few other relics. Now, technically what you can do is also just rest at the bench back at the Ancestral Mound and just save quit after getting the Mothwing Cloak. But I've never really been too fond of save quitting unless it was something like trying to save time and so forth. Like, I'm not very good at speed running. So, big thing is, don't do that. Or that. You can technically pogo her needle as well. The problem is, you're just not going to get much reason to do that. See? One of those more fun kind of things. Even though it doesn't serve too much of a practical use. Ah, now she's gonna defy gravity. That happens if you beat her during her dive. I was surprised the first time that it happened to me. Oh right, you have to get the cutscene if you're going to not save quit. Which gives you some more foreshadowing for the plot. And now with dashing, so many things open up. Mostly fungal waste, but you can get like a little bit towards Howling Cliffs. You could technically get Baldur's Shell now if you really, really wanted. But you need the Mantis Claw to get even further and make it into the Howling Cliffs proper. wanted to, like, floors lava him entirely.
Nah, me no biz.
And seems like a pretty good place to stop, as we chill at the Lake of Un with our boy Quirrell. Alright, so this has been a science experiment. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue with this. If folks want me to, then I'll continue the playthrough and see how this goes. But nonetheless, if you're watching this, my thanks, and thank you for any kind of feedback, and so forth. You have a wonderful time.